Hello and welcome to the weekend recap. I know I was away last weekend, but we're here now. So let's get to it. But first, if we do have any viewers from Ukraine, I hope that you guys are staying safe. Seeing what's happening over there is terrible. It's nonsensical and tragic all rolled into one. Another terrible event to couple with what was happening in Palestine not long ago this year or this past year, or I guess is always happening there. And I know this does f*** all for you guys. But I'm thinking of you guys all over the world for whom the saying, the comfort of your own home just doesn't exist anymore thanks to the atrocities of your neighbors. Please keep safe, everyone. And with that said, let's talk about some football to get our minds off of things. Let's talk about this incredibly unimportant thing that we love, but the most important of all unimportant things, as the saying goes. My goodness, that League Cup final was incredible, wasn't it? Full of goals, packed with them really, but none of them counted. Whether it was the Liverpool goal called back, which can only be summed up by Adam Crafton's tweet, which said it's technically the right decision, but it's just so boring. To which I would add, that should be the official motto for VAR, shouldn't it? The right call, absolutely, even though it feels like you're slowly, suffocating football with a pillow by making calls like this, and Lukaku's fractional offside is further proof of that. I mean, show me a better angle, because I need the Hubble telescope for this one. Just to be clear, I'm sure VAR made the right calls in this game, and in fact they did. But my God, is it ever boring to call something back. Like this goal, for example, this Lukaku goal. Doesn't that feel like we're moving against football? Because what's the advantage here? And yes, I know offside is offside no matter the amount. I get that. But there's a point where the negligible offside calls are just absolutely fromage. Anyway, Chelsea had plenty of offside goals in this one, Havertz in particular, as he looked good out there, and eventually it would come to a shootout in which Tuchel decided to go with his penalty boy, Kepa. He took off Mendy, even though he had an incredible game. It brought on Kepa, and we all know how that ended up. Neither keeper saving a single penalty, Kelleher converting his penalty, Kepa skying his. I know hindsight is 2020, guys. I get that. And had this panned out, I know we would all be saying, brilliant move by Tuchel. But my question is, at what point do you back Mendy for a shootout? It has to be now, no? I mean, he saved pens at AFCON, including in the shootout final win. He was having an S-tier game in this one. Now, do you think Tuchel will trust him? Or does he continue with Kepa for penalties, given his otherwise good record in shootouts? Anyway, it was a brilliant final, very open, and either side could have won it, really. But while everyone is talking about Kepa versus Mendy in the shootout, the true focus should be on the opportunities that were spurned by both Pulisic early on, and even worse, Mason Mount. Gilt-edged chances that you have to finish, and Chelsea failed to do so and paid the ultimate price. Congrats to Liverpool, however, for that win. Southampton have continued their fantastic form as they won 2-0 against the basement dwellers, Norwich. Norwich, they came out of their basement, their den, to get some more Doritos and Mountain Dew, and were promptly sent back via Hasenhüttl and his goal scorer Shea Adams and Oriol Romeu. Tottenham are on, then off, then on again. And when you are struggling for form, playing against Leeds under Marcelo Bielsa is one of your best bets for a remedy to your situation, especially this season. The absolute worst team in the league defensively, as they have already conceded 60 goals in 26 matches now after their 4-0 loss to Conte's side. Unfortunately for Bielsa, that was the end of the road for him. But it makes sense, doesn't it? Leeds are just 2 points above the drop zone, and like I said, they cannot defend to save their lives, and that has to fall on him. Spurs sighed their way through defense and converted 3 times in the first half, and then Kane and Son linked once again to make it 4-0 at the end of the match. That combination for the 4th goal meant that Kane and Son have linked for 37 goals in total, breaking the record that Lampard and Drogba had previously set of 36 goal combinations between them. Incredible stuff from Kane and Son, and we'll save our judgment on Spurs as they're too topsy-turvy to follow along and make any sort of broad judgments on. Newcastle United continue to surge under Eddie Howe. What a difference this man has made, no? In beating Brentford 2-0 this weekend, their unbeaten run has stretched 7 matches, taking them from bottom of the table to 14th, 4 points above safety. Brentford were on the back foot almost immediately when Josh Da Silva was sent off for an unruly tackle, studs on the ankle of his opponent. And from there, Newcastle controlled this match well. Credit to Brentford, who fought hard in the second half, but those first half strikes from Joelinton and Willock killed them off. Massive hill to climb after that, but also shout out Christian Eriksen, who played some minutes for Brentford. Hopefully more appearances to follow. Somebody had to stop Sean Dyche's Burnley, who were on a 2-match winning run, and Palace stepped up to get a 1-1 draw. And speaking of draws, United had another boring performance as they drew Watford 0-0 this weekend. What a string of just frustrating results for their supporters, as once again they had a superior expected goals by a long shot on this occasion, and yet they just cannot finish off chances. Terrible finishing once again from United, as has been the story under Rangnick, unfortunately for them. While Brighton dominated the ball against Aston Villa, Villa did well to control them through dominant defending and limiting the amount of clear-cut opportunities that Brighton had in this game this weekend. And on top of that, some smart finishing from Villa, such as Matty Cash's strike on the half volley from distance, brilliant low strike. And then in the second half, a lumped ball forward was controlled by Watkins, and he scored just his 6th goal of the season. Surprising, that one. Thought he had more, but hey, 2-0 win, and Villa are still on their way up the table with a couple of matches in hand as well. Everton hosted Manchester City and fought well as benefited from some major missed opportunities from City, but a Phil Foden goal in the end was the difference as City bounced back from their loss to Spurs last weekend. And with West Ham beating Wolves, 2 losses this week for Wolves, by the way, City hold a 6-point lead over Liverpool, who of course didn't play this weekend, while Chelsea have some catching up to do as well, who of course didn't play this weekend. Also, while we look at the scores and standings, let's look at the bottom of the table here, because as you can see, it's a bit of a harrowing picture for the likes of Leeds and Everton, dangerously close to the drop zone still. I mean, Leicester, well, I don't think that they'll go down. They aren't exactly out of the woods, are they? A good run from Burnley, who have been good, and some bad form continuing for Leicester. Yikes. Mind you, I should say this. They have played a record low amount of matches, so take from that what you will. They have a lot of matches in hand. After not winning a single La Liga match since December of 2021, after a winless run of 7 matches, with losses against Barcelona, Atletico, and Real Madrid along the way, Valencia have finally won. They defeated Mallorca this weekend 1-0 to end the winless skid thanks to a goal from Gabriel in just the 4th minute. They got it early and they held on. After Elche was on weekend recap watch 2 weeks ago, they've lost twice. Call it a jinx, call it whatever you like, but they were slapped 3-0 against the bottom of the league Levante this weekend. Getafe and Deportivo Alavés played out an exciting 2-2 draw, while Real Madrid went away to Vallecas and got a 1-0 win over Rayo Vallecano, as who else but Vinicius and Benzema linked up for what was the winner in this one. They've been dying for that combo to come back and be effective again, as Benzema and Vinicius linked in their last match last weekend as well and continued again against Rayo Vallecano. Atletico, the best way to not concede, well, you have a totally out of sorts keeper in Jan Oblak. Limit the amount of shots he actually has to face. I mean, to be fair to them, to Simeone as well, they have done this all season, as they have faced the fewest amount of shots on target in all of La Liga, but with Oblak playing so poorly, that hasn't been enough for them. Thankfully, he was a bit more on form this weekend as he faced 2 strikes and made 2 solid saves for a clean sheet. Going in the other direction, another solid performance from João Felix and a dominant one from Kondogbia and Renan Lodi, who linked for both goals by the Brazilian. Both goals set up by Kondogbia. However, the Frenchman did go off with an injury, which is not a great sign as he has been integral to their midfield, but a positive result and a positive in not conceding. Maybe a turning point for Oblak? What do you guys think? Villarreal, I mean, take a bow. These guys are in great form at the moment, none more than Jeremy Pino after this weekend in which he scored 4 goals against Espanyol in Villarreal's 5-1 win. Just a ridiculous performance from him as the 19-year-old took his La Liga goal tally up to 6 from 2 goals. El Gran Derby, Sevilla hosting Real Betis, a ferocious atmosphere and a ferocious first half as Sevilla stormed to a 2-0 lead, while Betis just looked shell-shocked really at times, especially in the opening exchanges. Sevilla were dominant, and while it leveled out a little as the half wore on, the penalty from Rakitic and the substitute Munir El Haddadi getting the second. Not a great goal for Munir, as Bravo kinda made a mess of that one, didn't he? Slipped under him somehow. In the second half, Real Betis started to cook a little bit more and really started to carve out some genuine opportunities in the Sanchez Pizjuan, but a single goal was all they could muster as Sergio Canales hit a stunning free kick with just over a minute left in added time. 2 on the final for Sevilla, and you can't say they didn't deserve it, can you? Real Sociedad overcame Osasuna 1-0 as Isaac set up Alustando, and Barcelona played against Athletic Club with a goal from Aubameyang. Bit of a weird one from a rebound as the Bilbao defender was just spinning, trying to see where the ball went. But it's yet another goal for Oba. The winter signings are playing out well. Even the players who were in poor form at their former clubs, that's Oba and Adama, are panning out greatly. Xavi himself said in 2020, I believe it was, that Aubameyang isn't the kind of forward that Barca requires, but he's certainly doing a job, isn't he? Man, I didn't see them being such a success. This early, at least. Oba and Adama, that is, but they're absolutely killing it for the most part. No assist for Adama this time, though. Also, the goal that Ousmane Dembele scored, wow. Brilliant goal from him into the roof of the net. What an awkward situation. Plus, great maturity from Dembele to not silence the crowd in any sort of way. He was whistled a ton, but he didn't silence the crowd or goad them into more whistles. And look, this is just how things go on this channel. We criticize players such as Dembele when it's warranted, and we commend them when it's warranted. And he absolutely should be commended for how he has carried himself since, that big media disaster in January. And it was Dembele who set up Luuk de Jong in Xavi's crossy-crossa Barcelona instead of tiki-taka. They love a cross, don't they? And Dembele did that again in setting up Memphis late. But for me, the player of the game was Pedri, who was dominant, dribbling out of areas he has no business doing so, hitting long balls or short with equal accuracy. He's just a ridiculous talent, truly world class. So, Real maintained a 6-point lead over Sevilla, and nobody else is that close, really. Barcelona and Betis are behind the top two, but would need a big collapse to occur in the final 12 matches in order to have a chance at the league title. But still, we like seeing Sevilla keep that pressure on Real. After crashing out of Europe against Rangers, there was even more reason to feel a bit down if you're a Dortmund supporter. This weekend, against potential relegation fodder, a 78th minute strike from Augsburg's Noah Joel Serendrin Bazi, needed TLDR for that name, I'm joking, led to a 1-1 draw with Dortmund. They are bad vibes right now as nothing seems to be working. All they have to fight for now is the league, and performances like this won't bring them any closer to Bayern Munich, unfortunately. For them, of course. Speaking of Bayern, they didn't exactly look stupendous against Eintracht Frankfurt as they went away this weekend. They labored a bit in the attack, but credit must be given to Kevin Trapp, who was forced into 8 saves. But on 71 minutes, man of the match, Joshua Kimmich rolled a perfectly weighted ball through to Sané, and he in turn just rolled it past Kevin Trapp. 1-0 there for Bayern. Union Berlin snapped their 3-match losing skid with a 3-1 victory over Mainz. Taiwo Iwaniyi, Sheraldo Becker, and Genki Haraguchi with the goals for Union. Haraguchi's coming just 7 minutes in, by the way. That was Iwaniyi's 10th of the season, and in second place in Union's goal-scoring charts, Max Kruse, who has, of course, moved on to Wolfsburg. Speaking of Wolfsburg, they drew 2-2 on Saturday away to Borussia Mönchengladbach, but it will feel more like 2 points lost after Wolfsburg were leading 2-0 after just 33 minutes, but were their own worst enemies in the second half. Leading 2-1, Maxence Lacroix was sent off for deliberately handing the ball. And 12 minutes later, Breel Mbolo scored the equalizer, his first since mid-December, by the way. God, can I say something more awkward than that? Also, Gladbach had a goal called off late, so the collapse was almost complete for Wolfsburg. They almost lost 3-2 after being 2-0 up. And when speaking of collapses, Hertha Berlin is the team you have to talk about, as they lost 3-0 away to Freiburg this weekend, marking their 3rd loss in a row and leaving them winless since they defeated Borussia Dortmund back in December of 2021. That was actually the same day that Breel Mbolo last scored, actually. Different match, of course. Breel Mbolo scores, Dortmund doesn't do well. Goals come easily to Bayer Leverkusen, however, who won 3-0 this weekend over Arminia Bielefeld. Leverkusen bounced back from last weekend's stumble away to Mainz, and who else but Moussa Diaby to get some goals. A brace for him as he's in ludicrous form, but more praise for Florian Wirtz as he played an instrumental role in their win once again from that central position just behind Lucas Alario. And the Tedesco revolution at Leipzig is proving to be a bit of a masterstroke, isn't it? Not many expected this relationship to work out so well, but RB Leipzig have lost just once in 2022. Their loss came against Bayern, and they pushed them all the way. But anyway, this weekend they defeated Bochum 1-0, and that put them in 4th after this weekend's fixtures and 24 matches played, as you can see here alongside the scores. Freiburg and Hoffenheim won, by the way, also on 40 points, just 4 points behind Leverkusen. Well, the title race in Italy will continue to heat up as nobody really seems to want to take control, both AC Milan and Inter Milan were held against Udinese and Genoa respectively, as they gave opportunities to Napoli and even, Juve in some respects to gain on them. But would those clubs take those opportunities? Well, Juventus were made to work extremely hard away to Empoli, particularly in that second half, and even more bad news for Allegri as the Weston McKennie replacement, Zakaria, went off injured in the first half. However, Dusan Vlahovic cannot stop scoring for Juve as he scored a brace. Moise Kean played alongside him and scored in this one, actually, which was nice to see a different variation up front. Empoli crawl it back to 3-2, but hey, 3 goals in his last 2 matches for Vlahovic. And his former club, Fiorentina, fell victim to Domenico Berardi in one of the harshest ways possible. Let me back this up a little bit. Sassuolo led thanks to a goal from Traore in the 19th minute. And an hour later, Giacomo Bonaventura was sent off for a handball and then for arguing just a tad too much with the ref after that. Despite that, Arthur Cabral was able to grab an equalizer, an unlikely one. Well, unlikely with respect to the fact that they were a man down, but Fiorentina were dominant in that second half and deserving of the goal, really. Now, where does Berardi come into play here? All of that happens only for Berardi to lift in a perfect cross that Defrel converts in the 94th minute, the last minute of added time, in order to hand Sassuolo the victory. What a cruel sport, isn't it? Oh, and remember how Gio Simeone had gone quiet for so long? We're talking months. Well, Simeone scored his first goals, since December 12th, over 2 months ago, as he got a hat trick against Venezia this weekend. He takes his Serie A tally up to 15 with that triple. AS Roma had an absolute battle up against Spezia, throwing the kitchen sink at them, only for Tammy Abraham to win the match with a penalty in just the 95th minute. Just the 95th minute. Nicolo Zaniolo took a beating against Spezia, black eye, cuts and all, but he won the penalty that was converted in the end to keep Roma unbeaten in 6 matches, but their first win in just over a month. But still, hey, unbeaten, man. Napoli had a tough test away to Lazio, and from that tough test, we had an occurrence that hasn't happened since May of 2021. At 0-0 in the 62nd minute, Elmas rolled the ball to Insigne at the edge of the box, and he hit a perfect curling strike into the bottom corner, which was, in fact, his first goal for Napoli from open play since May of 2021, which is wild. Of course, you'll remember that banger he scored for Italy at Euro 2020. Insigne also had a goal cancelled, and in the 89th minute, wow, what a finish from Pedro. On his left foot, he smashed a volley past Ospina, and just when it seemed like Napoli wouldn't take advantage of the drop points at the top of the table, Fabian Ruiz hit a stunning curling effort low past Strakosha to win it for Napoli in Rome. And that goal put them top of the table on goal difference, as you can see here. All right, guys, that's all that we needed to cover from this weekend, but the football never stops, and so the content won't either. I love you guys. Please be safe, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.